Hello, this video is sponsored by Kettle Chips, jalapeno brand today. I'm just kidding. It's not really sponsored by Kettle Chips at all. If it was, I might make some money. It's sponsored by me. Anyway, what are we talking about today? Somebody asked if I'd talk about spitting and chewing. So, spitting and chewing is not doing this. What I'm doing right here is I'm chewing and eating. I'm chewing and swallowing. Chewing and spitting, I just thought I'm not actually going to do that because that's kind of gross. But chewing and spitting, I don't know what I was thinking. I thought I'd demonstrate it. Sorry. I'm not going to demonstrate that because not is it disgusting, but it's also a waste of crisps. So chewing and spitting is when you start chewing, you want to taste food, you chew food and then you spit it out rather than swallow it. And it's really actually quite interesting as to why we do that. Because, right, so when you have anorexia, your body's in malnutrition, you haven't been eating enough food. So there's a part of your brain that knows this and it wants to eat a load of food, and it usually wants to eat the foods that you're most scared of. It wants to eat highly caloric food, sugary foods, delicious foods that I still love to eat, but when you're in recovery it wants to eat, when you're in malnutrition your brain wants those in huge quantities because it's like, hello, you need to eat more food. And so kind of like have all these food desires. And then, because at the same time you've got another thing going on, you've also got the anorexia response, which is that brainstem area, part of your brain, detects that you lost weight, and it turns on if you have the genetics for anorexia, it turns on the anorexia response, and that's the part of the brain that's saying, you need to migrate, there's no food around here, you have to get going, so you need to move a lot and you need to eat very little. And so the one thing that you've got going on is your body giving feedback to your brain saying, red alert, you're in malnutrition, need to eat more food. And then the other thing that you've got going on is that anorexia switch got flicked in you because you lost weight, you went into energy deficit and you have the genetics for it. And the other thing that starts to happen is your brain goes, don't eat. Food is a threat to your survival. Whatever you do, don't eat, just move and eat very little. Just only eat as much as you need to survive. And so you've got these two conflicting things going on in your brain there, like pulling each other. Big desire to eat, also scared of eating. And that's why many of us, when we have anorexia, there's just so much going on up here, because on the one hand you're like, I want to eat, and then you're like, I don't want to eat, and you're like, I need to eat more food, and then you're like, I don't want to eat more food, and it's just push and pull all the time. And that's where the chewing and spitting comes in. The chewing part, picking up food and eating it, is your that's the good response. That's the healthy brain saying, you need to eat food. The spitting it out part, that's the bit where anorexia got there and sort of freaked out and went, don't eat the food. So the chewing and spitting is like a negotiation between those two things. It's part of you wanting to eat, and then it's the other part being actually scared of eating and the associated weight gain and all of those things. So I actually think that chewing and spitting is a really good example of the conflicting things that go on when we have anorexia, the conflicting desire to eat and desire not to eat, or fear reaction to eating. And so the chewing and then the spitting out is a negotiation to satisfy those two things, which, if you think about it, many of the behaviors that we do when we have anorexia are negotiations between one strong desire to eat a lot of food and another really strong desire or really strong emotional fear reaction to wanting to eat a lot of food. And so many of the things that we do are actually us trying to negotiate how to satisfy the desire to eat and also not eat what we perceive to be as more than usual or too much or scary food or anything like that. So if you do that, if you do the chewing and spitting thing, I'm going to tell you to chew and swallow. The part of you that wants to eat, that's your healthy brain that's saying, my body's giving me feedback that I'm in malnutrition, I need to eat more food. That's great. That's really great that your body's giving you that feedback. Don't then go and spit the food out. That's kind of rude. It's a bit like, say if you've got a friend and they're banging on the door and saying, let me in, and you open the door and you go, oh, hi, how are you? slam, slam the door in their face. That's kind of what like chewing and spitting's like in terms of what your body's like, can I have some food, can I have some food? And you're like, here's some food, spit it out. That's not very nice, is it? Your body's just trying to do what it does. It's just trying to survive. And then you come along and kind of like spit the food out. It's not what it needs you to do. It needs you to listen. And it needs you to eat the food and swallow the food and keep doing that.